Let's get started with the hour. We start off with developments in the Chinese capital, Beijing, where South African CEOs are meeting with their counterparts there ahead of the Africa-China Cooperation Summit.
Government officials from both sides are also present. Let's get details from our Newzroom Africa business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, who's now joining us live from Beijing. Xolani, very good morning to you once again. So looking forward to what the president will have to say when he addresses the FOCAC summit, but also what our Human Settlements Minister has to say when it comes to collaboration around settlements.
Good morning, Aldrin, from a humid Beijing here in China, which is quite busy this week, receiving African heads of state, including our very own Government of National Unity led by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Yes, we are here at the South Africa-China Presidential Business Forum, which will be addressed by the President in an hour's time. And this is after that state visit where the bilateral relations and the relationship between China and South Africa was elevated to ensure that trade between the two countries does balance out when it comes to the deficit that is there, where it sees that we are importing more from China than we are exporting. There are a lot of people here, including, if I may go through some of them, that is Aspen CEO Chairman Kuseni Dlamini, that is CEO of Transnet Michelle Phillips, and also Dan Marukane, who is the CEO of Eskom, among others. NASPER's CEO is here, but of course there are 10 ministers in that delegation who are meeting here today to make sure that they cement those ties. And indeed, one of the most important discussions and one of the most important, the agreements that were signed, one of the 8 agreements that were signed was with between the human settlements in China and our very own Minister of Human Settlements, Mmamoloko Kubayi, and she joins us now here in Beijing. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time. It's quite an important occasion that just a few weeks after you told the country about your mandate to make sure that you close the housing gap in South Africa, which is quite large, you are signing an agreement here in China in order to cooperate for the Chinese to help South Africa. Just a little bit about what that agreement entails.
Yes, definitely. Good morning to our viewers at home. The agreement is about collaboration between South Africa and China in the field of human settlements. As you see in Beijing, when you look at how they've been able to build, it high rises, inner city is quite coordinated. It's able to accommodate people, but still have places for children to play, for children to go to school, but also for the workers to be able to work. So there are areas that we can be able to learn from and collaborate with. So one of the areas that we're looking at is alternative building technology. They build faster, they build within price, and that's what we want to do. So we have already started with that. Most of our entrepreneurs were looking for funding opportunities so that they can help in terms of building, closing the gap market that, as we said, that affordable housing in the country is, in terms of stock, is not available, but also in terms of being affordable, it's not accessible, and the categories of people who are not able to access even financing. So we're looking at various collaboration methods that we could be able to. One of the critical areas that myself and my counterpart has agreed on is on alternative building technologies that we could be able to utilize as part of us building better communities in South Africa.
Minister, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to more engagements at FOCAC 2024. And of course, another important engagement was with the Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams is here, and that's another agreement that was signed. And she joins us now ahead of that address by President Cyril Ramaphosa. What are you expecting to hear from both sides, Minister Abrahams, in terms of what the two countries that are meeting today are actually discussing? And thank you and good morning.
Good morning. Of course, ours is to make sure that whatever message the President gives and whatever message the President Xi also gives also ensures that small businesses are not left behind on the trade opportunities that we're talking about. It's not only about opportunities, but we're also looking at the regulatory impediments that make the small businesses not to be able to trade, especially in terms of them exporting certain products. So we are here to make sure that every deal that is being clinched, every agreement that is being signed does consider small businesses. And what is it that we would need to do, working with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, to make sure that those businesses are ready. For example, there's the exciting news that everybody is happy about, that South Africa will be increasing its capacity and provision in terms of the beef to the Chinese market. What does that mean for communal farmers? What does this mean for small-scale farmers? Therefore, ours is to say we will support them, hold them by the hands, in order to make sure that we meet the targets that we would have set with the Chinese government, and therefore be able to benefit the small companies at home, whilst we are aware that people in South Africa must not go hungry and not get beef because it is taken here. But it's about how do you multiply what will be there, and in order to make sure that the capacity that they have to produce, they can produce more, which will meet the Chinese requirements. And we're looking forward to making lots of money as small businesses, but also creating many jobs for our people. Whilst the Chinese companies themselves will be investing in South Africa. Again, it's another opportunity, as you know, that we have the localization policy. As much as they'll be coming to invest money in infrastructure rollout that President Ramaphosa has declared that our country this time is going to be a construction site. And when that happens, it means our people should never be spectators again. And that is why we are here to say, Chinese, partner with us in terms of providing the relevant skills that we need for all the investment opportunities that we're talking about, whether it's skills that talk about digital, skills that are required in the construction sector, in order to meet their own market demands. Because this does not mean that South Africans don't have the skills, but there are shortages here and there because of specific requirements. And that is why we joined hands with Minister Pakstow of Trade, Industry and Competition.
Minister, thank you so much for your time. You heard it there, that this is about empowering local small businesses in South Africa as well. It's not about highbrow conversations. As you heard, that there's a lot of excitement about the deal that has been clinched to make sure that the South African beef market does get to export to this part of the world, where in China there are 1.4 billion people. And as I've heard here in the streets, the South Africans and the other Africans who are here, they are interested in finding out how exactly a country of 1.4 billion people today managed to bring out 800 million people out of poverty within 25 years. Back to you in studio.
And with that also becoming the second biggest economy in the world. Thank you so much for that. Xolani Mbanjwa, they're joining us from Beijing ahead of the 4CAC summit and also ahead of that address by President Cyril Ramaphosa.